Hi, my name is Mel Ramsey. I'm 56 years old. I live in Lewisport, Kentucky, way up here on the beautiful Ohio River. I'm a single granddad raising 3 beautiful granddaughters. Yes, ladies, I said single. This is available if you're looking. No. People have told me all my life that I'm a funny guy and that I should be a comedian. I don't really feel like I'm a comedian. I feel like I'm more of a storyteller. My heroes growing up were people like Andy Griffith, Jerry Clower, Andy Rooney. I love a good story, and I love it when there's humor in it. My granddad and my dad were marvelous storytellers, so I think they just kind of passed that gene down to me. I do feel like that genre of art is kind of slipping away from our society these days. We kind of push our older people to the back and we don't listen to them, and those kind of things, so we're kind of losing those old stories and those ways of communicating, and I want to try to keep that alive as long as I can. My children and grandchildren have pretty much gotten tired of listening to their granddad and their dad talk, but hey, I like telling stories, so here we go. I'll tell you a couple this morning. My dad, when he was a young man, was quite the rounder. He spent a lot of time, moseying around as a young man, and ended up out on the East Coast for a while. While he was out there, he ran into this guy that was the director, you might say, for a cruise line. He's the guy that hired people, and he was talking to my dad. My dad was out of work, and he asked if he wanted to go to work on a cruise line. And Dad said, well, I don't know. He said, what do you got to do? He said, we need a lot of people. He said, right now, the main thing we're looking for is entertainment. We had a magician that was on our ship before, but he quit. And now we're looking for another one to replace him. My dad said, well, I can do a few card tricks. And he said, I can learn more on the way. He said, I'll take it. So he went to work with this guy on the cruise line. And this is back when cruise lines were just getting to be a big thing. And so anyway, he got on the boat and they headed down to the Caribbean somewhere. And they were, cruising along, doing real good. My dad was working, just about every night, and the only problem that he ran into on the ship was that the captain had a parrot that was like his pet parrot, and the parrot had free roam of the ship. He could go anywhere he wanted to. There were perches set up all over the place, so he could just fly somewhere and sit down, and the people would come up, and they would talk to him and pet the parrot and all that kind of stuff. Well, this parrot fixated on my dad. And he would go to these shows where my dad was, entertaining the people. I don't know if you've ever been to one of those resorts where the magicians come up to your table and do the tricks and stuff like that. He did those kind of things. Well, the parrot would sit there, and when my dad would do a trick, he would say cards in his pocket, or the rabbit's behind the hat, the rabbit's behind the hat. Those kind of things just ruined my dad's magic tricks, So it made my dad, pretty upset, but there wasn't anything he could do about it because the parrot belonged to the captain and he wasn't going anywhere. So anyway, my dad muddled through this for a while there, and one night they were cruising along, and all of a sudden the ship ran aground on some kind of a sandbar or something, and basically just split in half. So all these people were having to abandon ship and that kind of thing. So my dad, found the side of the rail, and he jumped off this boat and was out there in the ocean. Well, he found this life raft floating there that didn't have anybody in it, so he climbed up in the life raft. Well, he was laying there, thanking the Lord he was still alive and everything, and all of a sudden he hears this poof, 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 and the parrot that was the captain's parrot lands on the end of this life raft that he's in. He's like, oh no, here we go. So the parrot, was walking back and forth there at the end of this life raft, just kind of looking at my dad, not saying nothing, just walking back and forth and just keeping his eyes on my dad. And all of a sudden he stopped and he just looked at my dad and he goes, all right, I give up. Where'd the ship go? Where'd the ship go? My dad said I couldn't, get anything to throw at him, so I just had to put up with it. But anyway, he said they were floating along there in the ocean, and somewhere in the middle of the night he spotted a pine, like a tree over on this side of this island somewhere, so they decided to paddle for this island. So he's paddling, they get to this island in the middle of the night, and he pulls up on the shore there, and kind of stretches out there, and again, thankful he's alive. And he looked at me then, and he said, I'm not going to tell you what I had to eat that evening. He said, but I will tell you this, parrot tastes just like chicken. They were laying there. So he was laying there and basking in the glow of, the good meal or whatever. And all of a sudden he said he heard these noises. It sounded like fireworks going off behind him. So he turns around. Sure enough, there's fireworks going off behind these trees. Looks like, somewhere on the other side of this island. So it was about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. He figured, well, I'll start walking over there. Maybe by daylight I can, find out where that's at. So he starts walking through the jungle in the middle of the night, and he Finally gets over there just about daylight, a little bit after, and sure enough, there's a cabana out there on the beach and a hotel and a dock with the airplane and all that kind of stuff. So he kind of walks by the cabana, which is where he came out on the beach at, and there's a guy in there serving drinks in the morning, and there's a guy sitting at the cabana that's dressed up like a pirate. Got the peg leg, hook on his hand and a patch on his eye. Well, he tells the bartender there what's going on, what had happened. He was on the ship and it sank, and bartender says, well, man, he said, I tell you what, he said, that sounds like bad luck. He said, but I tell you what, he said, I got about 10 minutes left on my shift here. He said, sit down here and have a drink with me. He said, and then as soon as I get my shift's over, my replacement gets here, I'll take you up to the house and we'll get you, situated with the director, and he can get, on the radio and try to get you back to the mainland or wherever you want to go to. Said, so just sit here a minute and have a drink, and then we'll go on up there. So my dad said, that's fine. He sat down, and the guy poured him some orange juice, and he was sitting there drinking it. Well, he keeps looking at this guy that's dressed like the pirate, and it's just, he doesn't know what to say to the guy because he's never seen anybody like that before. But finally, just his curiosity gets the better of him, so he just asked him. He said, excuse me. He said, I'm not trying to be rude. He said, but are you really a pirate, or are you just dressed like that? The guy kind of looks at him and goes, "Har, matey, a pirate I be." He says, well, you look like one. You look very authentic. He said, can I ask you a question? He said, what happened to your leg? The guy looks at him and says, "Har, high seas it were, and a wave crashes across the bow and knocks me into the drink. Shark chewed me leg off, So, well, I can understand that. You being a pirate, on a ship and all, I can see that. He said, what about your hand? Or the hook thing. Pirate looks at him, he says, "Har, boarding an enemy ship it were. Some scallywag whacks me hand off with a saber." He said, well, I can see that, you being a pirate and all. He said, what about your eye, though, with the patch? Pirate looks at him, he says, "Har, seagull dropping it were." My dad says, what? You're telling me that a bird dropping put your eye out? Guy says, "Har, it was the first day with me hook, Yeah. But anyway, those are the kind of stories I grew up listening to, so I hope you enjoyed them. Miss Robertson, I love everything you do, and I love you, and I love the fact that you keep clean humor alive. Hopefully I'll see you soon. Thanks.